Hello and welcome to the edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, the Ford Motor Company is asking for a little stimulus package from the U.S. government, much like the stimulus package that every U.S. well, at least most taxpayers are going to actually get from the U.S. government coming up in the next several weeks. But Ford's looking for a little bump to try to bump up the economy because obviously the coronavirus has taken a real hit to not only manufacturing in the car world, but car sales in the dealership side of things. And they're looking for a little blast from the past when it comes from the last economic downturn, and it is cash for clunkers. Yes, Ford Motor Company is wanting to bring back cash for clunkers. If you don't remember this particular program, you could basically push, pull, or drag any piece of junk into any brand new car dealership and get a fantastic amount of money. Sometimes 4 and 5 times more than the car was actually worth. Man, I wish I still had the photographs. I'd love to go do some hunting and try to find those pictures that I took back in the day of a lot of these cash for clunkers cars, because a lot of these cars were really good stuff. And it was a shame because all these cars went to the crusher. And the fact that the salvage yards that they were taken to got 24 hours to strip any parts off, and the problem was they were receiving cars 10 and 15, 20 at a time, and they just didn't have the manpower to actually get that much parts off of them. So some of these cars went to the crusher that were in amazing shape. Some of the stuff was in super good shape. Like I said, I still wish I still had those photographs. I would love the U.S. government to do something a little bit different. Instead of crushing all these cars, basically give these to, let's say, shelter groups, or maybe even to organizations to help single mothers, single fathers who need some transportation help. That would be lovely, but, you know, kind of getting the U.S. government involved in car sales would be probably a pretty nasty little situation. So we'll definitely keep you in tune. I'm sure the U.S. government's going to do something for not only Ford Motor Company, for every manufacturer inside of the U.S. market or in every market around the world, but we'll definitely keep you tuned more of what we hear. And sticking with the Ford Motor Company, a leaked dealer document showing a brand new Mustang model on the horizon. We haven't seen this in the early 2000s. The Mach 1 apparently is going to return for the 2021 season. Even though this whole coronavirus thing could put the kibosh on that, or at least push it back a little bit more. But interesting enough, because the Mach 1 actually be coming back, there's another Mustang that is absent off of this list, and it is the GT350, which is kind of weird because just last year, the GT350R went through a massive refresh, or at least somewhat refresh. So it's kind of an interesting story. Now, again, this isn't official Ford documentation. It's a leaked dealer memo, so we may have more about this coming in the future, but it may just be maybe just a typo in that prompt. So we'll definitely keep you tuned more of what we hear. Now we talked about some industry news. Let's go on to the racing world, because even though there is absolutely no racing going on anywhere around the planet, there is a ton of news going on, and it has to do with regulation changes, because apparently a ton more regulation changes were going into effect in 2021 that I even knew about, including the folks over at NASCAR. NASCAR was going to have somewhat sweeping regulation changes. In fact, they've already gone into a massive amount of test sessions on this particular deal. Cars were going to get brand new bodywork, a possibility of a single center lug rather than the 5 lugs that they have now. Apparently, Joey Logano, Eric Jones, and William Byron all drove the brand new car. In fact, Clint Boyer was actually supposed to drive the car in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but that was the first event to actually get fully canceled because of the coronavirus thing. So the 2021 regulation changes are now going to be pushed back a year to 2022. So the regulation change will stay consistent for not only 2020 season, if and when it does actually fire up, and then it will go on into the 2021 season. In the same boat as them is the World Rally Championship, because they too are pushing back their regulation changes, which are actually coming a little bit more to light. One of the biggest changes is going to be a change of names. No longer are they going to be called World Rally Cars, they're going to be called Rally 1. And the changes are going to be quite extensive, especially in the cost-cutting measures. Some of the big things that are going to change, apparently World Rally cars had liquid-cooled brakes, which I didn't know about. Those are going to be going away. A lot less sophisticated brakes are going to be going in the car. A lot less sophisticated suspension systems, with the possibility of less suspension travel be going on to the cars. The massive aero kits will continue, along with new hybrid system, which is going to be more power which means these cars are going to go a lot faster, which could mean that suspension system might really need an upgrade. So again, they're going to be switching their 2021 Reds into the 2022 season, and I'm assuming all 2020 cars, if and when we do start the season back in earnest, will be legal for the 2021 season. And in the same boat for those two series, it's also going into the fact with Formula One as they're pushing back their regulation changes to 2022. Now, if the season starts in early June, which is the early reports it may, that this particular season will just stretch right on into the 2021 season, meaning you can use the exact same race car, the exact same everything. All the parts and pieces will be totally legal for the 2021 season, and then they will make their big sweeping changes going into 2022. You may have picked up a little hint there, the if thing that I'm talking about. Formula One has rumored to possibly canceling the 2020 season altogether, which is a pretty big news. But the Concord Agreement, that is basically the agreement between the teams and Formula One and also the television, where the television revenue gets spread out amongst the teams, well, the TV deal is kind of really hurting right now, especially for the fact that a lot of marquee races, including the Monaco Grand Prix, may not even happen this year. So there's a lot of TV coverage that is really being affected, and the fact that the TV deal may be in a big change going in the 2021 season. So this could end up being canceled altogether, even though there's a lot of talk that the group that owns Formula One, now Liberty Media, actually has a pretty big war chest, so they may be able to keep this thing afloat through the 2020 season going into 2021, but we'll definitely keep you tuned more of what we hear. And possibly the weirdest story you're definitely going to hear all day, possibly the weirdest story, hell, definitely the weirdest story I've even talked about all year, involves Red Bull Racing. In fact, namely, involves Helmut Marko, the head of Red Bull Racing, who apparently proposed of starting a Corona camp, taking 15 of their best men and women drivers in their Red Bull Driving Junior Series and expose them to the coronavirus. Yes, you heard me right. This is bizarre beyond bizarre. The thought process was if the Formula One season started in June, and then if any of their top-level drivers came down with the coronavirus, they were going to have a batch of drivers that then, in Helmut Marko's mind, were going to be healthy enough to survive the coronavirus or the COVID-19 and be able to be immune of any new strain that could pop up coming up later in the season, and they'd be ready to plug in brand new drivers anywhere they seem fit. Now, obviously, Red Bull Racing went, no, we are not doing this. In fact, Helmut Marko actually was heard saying that, yeah, they didn't take that kind of news very well as far as when he proposed this to them. So, obviously, it is not going to happen. But what a bizarre situation. If you know anything about Helmut Marko, I'm not hugely surprised that he came up with this. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. The first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. See you again real soon.